Welcome, everyone. I'm Mariquita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org was founded in 1998 and is a leading resource for faith-based animal rights veganism. We're led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson. We provide free resources for people seeking to live compassionately towards all creatures. Our extensive library includes vegan sermons and commentaries, animal rights strategies, action alerts, events, and works by various vegan authors. We also sponsor websites for animal rights organizations. Our mission is to unite compassionate individuals worldwide who honor the dignity of all creatures. So today I'm very excited and honored to welcome Joe Kidd. Joe runs Tree of Life Veganics, a veganic forest farm on a 7.5 HA near Faversham in Kent. She started farming in 2018 and has been vegan since 2003. Her farm is certified organic with the Soil Association and Stockfree Organic with the Vegan Organic Network. Her farm is off-grid, no dig, no till, and uses no concrete or single-use plastic. Veganic farming is organic farming, but without the use of any byproducts from animal agriculture and without any synthetic chemicals. Forest farming is a form of agroforestry which focuses on the perennial crops, especially trees. Joe is creating variations of food forests, including linear food forests, polycropping with perennials. Joe's background is in social enterprise, social movements, human rights, more than human rights, and earth-focused activism and community organizing. She has a daughter, Rosa, who is very much a part of her farm. So I'm excited to welcome you here, Joe. I've heard a lot about you from our mutual friend, Krishna Gandhi, and I just spent a nice time with her. And so I'm very honored that she introduced me to you, Joe. So thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here and lovely to meet you, Mariquita. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone watching. I see that we have some beautiful hands here. Lois, thank you for watching with us, and let us know if you have any questions. Everybody, let us know where you're joining from. I'm in the Atlanta, Georgia area, United States. And where are you, Joe?
I'm in Selling, a place called Selling near Faversham in Kent, in the UK, in England. So kind of not far from Canterbury. Most people know about Canterbury in the southeast.
Wonderful. One day I'll make it over that way. I'd love to come see your veganic farm.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. Where did you see Krishna? Did you talk to Krishna online, or did you see her in person recently?
Well, Krishna was on our show probably about 3 months ago, and we just were at the online behind the scenes part of the VCOP, Vegan Convergence of the People. We had that event this past weekend with Dr. Silas Rao, and she was part of the team. So I spent the whole weekend with Krishna online.
Oh, lovely. Cool. Yeah. And as I said to you earlier, she brought Dr. Rao here. Oh, I don't know, back in the summer, I think. I can't remember when it was. Everything goes so quickly. But yeah, I was here for a day doing some filming with Alex Lockwood, which was brilliant for his new film.
Nice. All right. And it looks like that Lois has met Krishna online too. Yeah, she is amazing. Krishna, your ears are burning.
Yeah, Krishna's famous. She's famous. Well done, Krishna. She's a good networker. She's a good person.
Well, so I'd love to hear about your childhood, Joe. And did you grow up with vegan parents or vegetarian parents, or did you even hear about that as a child?
I didn't. No, I like lots of people. I wasn't raised vegetarian or vegan. And I don't. That's a good question. Did I hear about it as a child? I don't know. We would always go out. You know, I mean, we lived in the town. I grew up in the town, but we would always, our kind of happy place as a family or places were always in the countryside, in the mountains, or down on the beach as well. We lived near the beach. So it was always, there was always that connection with nature and always that love of being in nature and respect for nature. So I can remember early childhood memories being in my garden and kind of digging around in the soil. My dad grew vegetables, and we would all kind of be out in the garden a lot, but also going walking and in the woods, and just very, very close to the land, really. So yeah, there was always that, and I always felt very, very connected with more than human animals, and with our other earthlings, our fellow beings on earth. So the trees and the plants and the earthworms and the ants and everyone. I always felt very, very connected, and I had a very strong sense of empathy and a very strong sense of I don't know how you'd say it, but I suppose anger if I saw anyone was being hurt or was suffering. Or so that was, I just was very, very early on. I remember writing a letter to a newspaper. I'm not sure how old, my mum would remember, but how old I was, maybe 9 or 10, when I'd seen some birds had been well, I don't know what had happened to them, but something horrible in the woods had happened to these birds, and I wrote this letter to the paper. So I was always feeling, very strongly about that. So I didn't go vegetarian until I was 13. I think seems to be quite a common age, really. That kind of teenage, hitting adolescence, hitting puberty, starting to work out who you are and your identity and what you really believe in. And I just earlier than that, I knew we'd go to stay on farms, and I would see cows, and I just would be like, oh, they're my friends. And then I started to think, what's going on here? What's happening to those cows? And I'd ask my parents, are they going to be eaten? Are they going to be killed? And once I made that connection, really, that what we were eating, what was on my plate, was that animal that I loved, then I went vegetarian at 13.
Wow. Well, that's amazing that you made the connection yourself. So many people don't do that.
Yeah, and I was trying to think earlier how that it was just that constant. I mean, we always had companion animals as well, and they were always from rescue. They were always adopted. They were never bought from breeders. So I'm just checking you can still hear me, because it looks like you've frozen.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah,
I can hear you.
I can hear myself, but I couldn't. You were just, So I suppose it was that. It's just that the animals, I suppose, the other animals helped me to make that connection, really, because it wasn't really humans, I don't think, who did that.
And what did your parents think then when you said you wanted to be vegetarian at 13?
They were, I mean, they just said, okay, that's fine. And then that was in the 80s. So, it's like things are very different now, much more awareness. But I just remember them saying, that's fine. They weren't all going to go vegetarian themselves, but they weren't anti either. That's fine. We'll just cook something different. And then it was a kind of the height of like convenience foods and things had kind of come in the 70s, hadn't they? So there was a lot of stuff, I would have like the rest of the food that they were having, but except the meat, but I'd have something else, like a crispy pancake or something cheesy. It was a lot of cheese. So not particularly healthy. And I mean, lots of veg and things, but those kinds of things weren't particularly healthy. But we always had a lot of fruit and veg anyway, and homegrown veg, which was lovely.
Oh, nice. Yeah, even better. Well, so when did you go vegan, and what was the shift there?
I finally went vegan. Now this is a little bit there's a little bit of like some people just do it and it's overnight, but I went vegan in 97, and then I moved to Turkey for a year, and I found it really difficult because I was working in Turkey and I was being fed food as a member of staff, basically, so I was getting free food. So it was really tricky at the time for the people there to understand vegetarian and I'm vegan. So I went back to being vegetarian, but then I finally went completely vegan in 2003. So it was that was it. Once you do it, as you know, everyone knows, once you do it, you think, why didn't I do it sooner? But I've done it now, and there's no going back, and there's no one seeing what you see.
Right. Well, it's I like that. I like your story because you're right. It's not a linear journey for everyone, and it can be very challenging to break the habits that we've been in our whole lives. So
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of denial, isn't there? I think there's a lot. I mean, now I think it's very different now because everything's out there. It's just it's all on social media. It's all so obvious. But there, it was either talking to other people, animal rights people, or reading things, or and there's a lot of stuff that we don't want to know about. We don't want to look at. As humans, it's self-protection or whatever, isn't it? It's kind of like self-preservation, really. If we all these things that are horrible, we don't want to know about. So you have to really be open and open your heart, and just, once you do it, that's the thing, isn't it? That you feel, now I'm living in the way I should be living. I'm living in the way that fits with my values and my beliefs in, no harm and no violence, and love for all creatures and compassion. And now I'm doing that as far as practically possible. So, your mental health, apart from your physical health, your mental health improves straight away because you're not living a lie, really.
yes, you're right. And I love that you said that because you're living in alignment with your values. And when we are living a lie, that really creates an impact on our peacefulness and our mental health. So that's a very good point that you just shared with us. So, tell me about your previous vegan activism, because it sounds like you have a long history of stepping up, starting from a little girl writing that into the newspaper, the letter. So
Yeah, so yeah, there were always things like that when I was very young. So yeah, kind of, campaigning and just stopping people from hurting animals, or stepping in when there were other children stamping on ants or cutting up worms. Or I always remember those feelings, how I felt. It's just how that other animal would feel. So there's that kind of activism, and then yeah, I suppose all the way through my life, I've done a lot of human rights activism as well, and environmental, activism, and been part of different organisations and different movements. And then, I suppose more before the farm, I was, and still am in theory, organising vegan festivals and vegan markets. It's kind of taken it's on the back burner a bit at the moment because it's quite busy with the farm. But yeah, so I've done that kind of events organising, and what you were saying about that you've done or doing as well. So, but yeah, all sorts of different. I think sometimes, there's so many different ways to be an activist, aren't there? Some of it's about going on a protest, and some of it I think is modelling. It's just saying, because some people I don't know, receive information in different ways, receive messages in different ways, and I suppose what I've learned over the since, I don't know, it's been a long learning curve, really, I suppose, is the being angry. We can be angry because we should be, full of rage at what's going on in the world, but actually that anger towards other people doesn't, generally help people to change. So I think a lot of it is around modeling, is around trying to live in the way that you feel is right, and then hopefully other people will see. Sometimes it's just making a nice meal for people, isn't it? Not that I'm the best cook, but it's that kind of thing, showing people this can be amazing food. And a lot of people, as we know, come into veganism through health and through food, and it's a way in, which is good. And then they can start to see and be more open, I think, to the animal rights side and the environmental side and the spiritual side and the food security and all the other things that make sense.
right, I know, and so many people get angry and they feel stressed out and sad. What would you tell a new vegan that was feeling depressed and sad? What would you say to that person?
Wow, yeah, it's that kind of journey through, isn't it? Because I remember when my sister went vegan. I can't remember. She did Veganuary, and it was a few years ago. And I remember her saying this anger, this feeling that I now feel because of, you know, other people who aren't vegan. And I see there's things happening, and I see stuff on social media about, you know, the calves and the chicks, and I'm so angry. And, you know, I think you have to kind of, it's a bit like a grieving process, really, isn't it? You kind of have to go through it and talk to other people, and talk about it and talk about your feelings with people you trust. But it will, not to say the anger will go away, but you'll kind of find a way, I suppose, to live more at peace, you know, and I don't know, connect yourself with other people who are doing things in a similar way, like-minded people, and that real anger that really makes you feel quite ill will move, will go, you know, and there'll still be rage, but it'll be more channeled, and the more people you talk to and the more things you do, and I think the more you do, the more activism, you know, in whatever form that might take, the more you just feel at peace, because you know you're doing the right thing.
Right. And I was going to ask you, how does the peace of not eating creatures manifest in your life today? But I know you just answered it.
Yeah, I can't imagine not having that. I mean, there's not always peace in my life, trust me. I mean, you know, because of the stuff, the cognitive dissonance that's around us. And, you know, here being on the farm, you know, people think, you know, some people think countryside, peaceful, green, you know, quiet, lovely, you know, but there's all sorts of horrible things going on around. People, you know, shooting animals and trapping and, you know, pesticides and sprays and all, you know, stuff. So it's not always peace, but I think you can only do what you can do, really. You can just try your best, and you can try and, you know, kind of spread that compassion, without being I don't know, trodden on or treated, you know, taken, what's the one I'm trying to say? You know, we need to be assertive as well, but I think we need to try and spread that compassion around. And so, yeah, if I can't imagine what it would be like to not be vegan now. It's just, yeah, that is just innate peace, really, in that way. You know, you're not part of that problem.
Right. Yes. And you're not ingesting that sorrow and yeah, definitely. It all makes
that violence, that torture, that sadness. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
We feel it, don't we? We feel it as vegans. We feel it strongly, and the suffering that we see and we know, you know, and I think we know that's happening, but we have to also really look after ourselves. I've learned that as well. I think I'm still working on that very much so, but we have to look after ourselves, because if we just feed ourselves with information that's really graphic and just really horrific, then we can't actually function. We won't be able to function, and we have to, because we're the ones who are going to make, you know, change the world for the better. So we have to look after ourselves and each other.
Yeah, I think definitely we had a conversation about that this past weekend, about everyone knows what they can handle and watch, and everyone has to take care of themselves in that aspect. So very, very true. And y'all, if you're watching, please subscribe, and then also put in the chat where you're joining us from and any questions for Joe. And I'd like to talk about now Tree of Life Veganics. Can you tell us about what is veganic farming exactly, for someone who's never done it? And now I might think off the top of my head, that sounds very difficult. And what just give us just a little background in that, please, Joe.
Sure. So there's different ways for saying it: veganic, vegan organic, or stock-free organic. So the standard in veganic farming is actually called stock-free. I don't particularly like that word, because I don't like to look at other animals as stock. But I think it's come from the fact that it's trying to encourage other farmers who are animal farmers, or who are conventional, aka chemical farmers, to think about, you know, moving towards veganic. And a lot of animal farmers are actually, particularly dairy. I think they're probably the most likely to change, because they know exactly what horrible things are happening. So but anyway, veganic is vegan organic. So I'm certified organic, So that's that, as that's a standard. And in Britain, there's various bodies, but I'm certified with the Soil Association. But I'm also certified vegan organic with the Vegan Organic Network. Big shout out to them. Do amazing work here in Britain, but also all over the world. So check out the Vegan Organic Network. And they certify this standard. And it basically is organic farming. So, without the use of pesticides and certain chemicals, but it's also without the use of any animal byproducts, animal products. So obviously, no farmed animals, no enslaved animals, no exploited animals. There's plenty of animals in the system, wild animals. So, self-determined animals who help and are here because they choose to be. But I've got myself off on a different tangent there. What was I saying? So without the use of any animal byproducts, so farmed animals, but also slaughterhouse and factory farm byproducts, which is what is used a lot of the time in commercial organic farming. So manure, which will come from obviously the places where there's most of it, slaughterhouses and factory farms. Chicken manure is spread around here a lot, through certain times of the year. So it's things like that. It's things like bone meal and blood meal and fish meal and feather meal, all the things that come from those places that humans and companion animals probably won't eat or aren't used for other things. So that we don't use any of those things. We also don't use any chemicals. So certain chemicals that are still allowed in organic farming, synthetic chemicals. So we don't use any of those. So it's a natural way to farm. It's very much looking at replicating what nature, copying and observing nature. A lot of veganic farmers will grow annual crops, so they'll still till. They might plough as well, but they'll definitely till the soil, minimum till, and they'll rotate crops. So that's one way of doing things, but the way I'm doing it is using perennial crops, so agroforestry, and what I'm doing is forest farming. So that's really agroforestry, growing trees and other crops together in the same space. But the way I'm doing it is focusing very much on the tree crops and other perennials. So plants, for the non-gardeners, they're plants that you don't need to keep planting again. You don't dig them up and eat them or use them and then plant each year. They just, you might cut them, and you just keep coming back. Or they might, like trees, they might have fruits, currants and berries and bushes and other perennial veg. So that's the way I'm doing it, because I don't want to disturb the soil. So I don't know if that answered your question and a bit more. Yeah. Sorry, I went in a bit there about other things, but veganic is that. It's without the use of exploiting animals at all.
Right, and that's beautiful. And the soil, we're doing so much damage to the soil. I can't even wrap my head around it. That we are hurting the soil directly, and then we eat the foods after we poison the soil. How can that even be happening? And what about recovery of soil? If you buy a plot of land, how do you know that soil is going to be, it's going to be alive?
Yeah, there's lots of different studies on how soil regenerates after it's been sprayed to death or grazed or compacted, all those things. But it definitely does, and it can, and it will come back and will regenerate. And it's about it's I don't know, the way we do it is around building soil, so there are different approaches, but what we do is like, vegan or veganic permaculture, really. So we're using a lot of wood chip, for example, when we weed, we don't really like the word weed, but when we pull up, maybe grass that's growing around the trees too closely, then as long as it's not seedy, we place it back around those trees. So we're kind of building compost in situ, if you like. And we're planting companion plants, so very much permaculture approach, guilds of plants that help each other. There's a synergy there between them. We're planting trees and other plants around those trees, so that there's a synergy between the tree and the other plant. Protects from soil erosion and protects from wind and from runoff, and there's more transpiration, so there's more moisture for the other plants from those trees. Obviously sequesters carbon. So yeah, all sorts of different ways that we can regenerate the soil. But I heard something the other day, actually, or a couple of weeks ago, about glyphosate. We did, that dirty word, glyphosate, which is just so, it's just so toxic. But I was hearing that apparently one application of glyphosate, which is a herbicide, so it's a broad spectrum herbicide, so it will kill all the plants to a certain layer, on the top of the soil. We don't know about how far down it goes really, but that's what they say is a top layer. But apparently it kills at least 50% of earthworms in one application. And if you think, farms, I mean, I know it's certain places, industrial farming, it's even worse, but they're spraying it at least once a year, if not 2 or 3 times a year with glyphosate, and drenching. So, it's just, and we know that's, if people don't care about the animals and the plants, we know that that's affecting human health. It's been, Monsanto were taken to court and lost and had to settle out of court. So for causing cancer. And so, yeah, it's serious. And we know that people, I've this last couple of weeks, 3 people who are not vegans have told me that they're B12 deficient. They've had symptoms, and they've gone to the doctor and they've been told they're B12 deficient, which we know that vegans are always, it's always, we're accused of not having enough B12, but it's down to the depleted soils. So it's a real worry.
Yeah, you're right. It is a real worry. And I've heard that they say whether you're vegan or not vegan, take B12. So yeah, because our soil is being depleted. And I have a question, because I know people that have those now I can't think of the word, the netting on the soil to prevent it from, like on the hill to prevent the soil from running off. But I know snakes get caught in that. Not just snakes, of course. That's very dangerous for animals. I've seen a few snakes. There was a snake at the nature center where I work who was there because of that damage to her body, and being in the net, she can never be released again. She is a tiny little snake, a beautiful little snake. And anyway, so yeah, so
yeah, I don't know much about that here. I don't know if, I mean, I guess it's used, but I haven't seen. I thought you were going to talk about like the plastic mulching and things, but yeah, I don't know.
We'll talk about that too. I mean, unfortunately, I see that netting everywhere, and I hate it.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Is that like what they use? So if they're building up like steps, you mean, or is it more if it's a slope and then they put the netting so it doesn't
slope?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's really plastic as well. Who knows what it's made out of? But instead of just I don't know, making steps or building up terracing or just leaving it alone. Stop
leave
meddling.
It alone.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough land. There's plenty of land, for if we weren't, and if there was no animal agriculture, there'd be plenty of land to feed the human population as it stands and more. So it's just not being used in the right way. It's a bit like wealth, isn't it? There's plenty of money. It's just not distributed properly.
Yes, and we all pay the price. I mean, that's what's not understood here, that we are all connected, right? We're all connected. Everything that happens to the animals, if they're being hurt, we're being hurt. So in that aspect, and that's kind of a spiritual belief that I have, and maybe not everybody believes it, or maybe it's not even spiritual, but what is your spiritual practice to keep you grounded, Joe? I mean, when you're so connected to nature, and then to feel the pain of Mother Nature and our earth being hurt, how do you ground yourself spiritually?
Oh, I'm back. You're back. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let me try moving my phone.
I hear you now. Oh, now I'm losing you. Well, let us know what y'all, if you're watching, what your spiritual practice is. Lois in Connecticut, if you have one, something to share. Anyone that's watching, we'd love to hear about that in the comments. And you're back, Joe. You gotta love the internet. Thanks for your patience, everybody. And also, again, subscribe and please share this with your friends. And because I love this show. I love being the live stream rep. Let's see. Can you hear me, Joe? All right. Well, we're also going to be planning a Thanksgiving episode that's coming up, the holidays here in the States. I'm getting together with Tams Nicholson to talk about that. So if there's anything you'd like to see, let us know. Anyone you would like for me to interview, any guests that are really making change, let me know, please. Also, because I'm always looking for new guests on here. Oh no, it's just me. All right. Well, hopefully Joe will be back in a minute. And I guess I will continue on. I will continue on to talk about nature and in my experiences at the Nature Center for a minute. And let's see if Joe comes back. But yeah, so I really, I'm a docent at our local nature center, and I'm out there leading hikes. And I also work with animals. So I take snakes out all the time to try to educate people on snakes. And one thing that I feel is very effective is saying, the snakes don't want to eat you, right? People think, and I used to think that I was going to be chased by snakes. They were going to chase me down and attack me, which is now I think that's crazy because I remember stepping over a black snake as a child and nothing happened. I just remember thinking, oh my gosh. But yes, I had this belief that snakes would chase me. But the fact is, oh, here comes Joe. The fact is, snakes only have a certain amount of venom. And snakes don't want to waste their venom on us. So we're too big for a snake to eat. So if the next time someone says something about about a snake and being afraid, that, I mean, just that's something good to say, that they don't want to, they only have a certain amount, and we're not a meal for a snake. All right. So, Joe, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess that was me. I've just moved my phone, so hopefully because I'm hotspotting, it's a bit, I'm off grid. So we don't have Wi-Fi here, but generally it works. You just never know. So apologies.
Yeah. It's all good. So tell us about your spirituality. I mean, how you ground yourself. And then Lois is saying she found this in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And so beautiful. Yes. So we want to hear about yours, Joe.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I find my connection with the rest of creation, if you like. I find that, you know, I feel more connected to God when I'm in nature, when I'm outside, when I'm with the trees and the other animals. That's really my my church to a large extent, you know. I would say that I'm a Christian animist. I do attend a church, go to church here. In the village quite close to us, but I'm also part of a Christian animist group which we meet online.
What is the animus? Because I can't remember right.
Animism. So that belief that well, it's what indigenous, you know, indigenous cultures believe, really. So it's that belief that everything is connected, everyone, you know, everything is person, everything is I always forget there's 6 kind of areas, but everything is sacred. That really, that we're all, like you were saying, whatever we do to ourselves, whatever we do to the earth, you know, it all has an effect, it all has a repercussion, and that we're that we're all one, really. So one being, with each other, and and that personhood, I suppose, so like Indigenous Americans or Aborigines, that kind of belief system, really, that we're all part of the web of life, and we can't behave in a way that just assumes that we're separate to that as humans, or we're superior. We have to be we have to recognize that. And I think, for some people, for a lot of people, certainly for Indigenous people, that just comes naturally. That's just without even having to question it. We just feel that. You feel that you're connected. And I certainly did when I was a child. You were asking me earlier, about childhood. I can remember my earliest memories where I just felt that connection. I felt that I could speak, with the other animals, with the trees. And I felt that they were speaking back, not in words necessarily, but I think if you know. So it just felt that energy was there between us, and I could feel their pain, and so, and I think that's come full circle. I probably went on a slightly different type of journey as through my 20s and 30s, and then I've kind of come back full circle, really, to really recognizing that and noticing it a lot more, and being I think through certain grief experiences, again, which I think is quite common, our hearts are opened even more, and we just recognize that much more, and we're open to it, and we can we can feel those connections. So that's, what I'm doing now with the way that I'm farming and the way that we're living, off grid, as cleanly and as sustainably, with the least harm possible. That just feels like it just fits with that spirituality, really, that belief system. So
and tell us what off grid. What does that look like? Because when you say off grid, I think, oh my gosh, what am I going to have to give up?
But yeah. Well, sometimes it can be like we just, it's not just like switch on a, flick a switch and everything works. There can be tricky, but it's not going back either to the dark ages. So we don't have any connection. I don't know if you have the same, talk about it in the same way in the States, but we don't have a connection to the national grid. So for electricity, we have solar panels and battery storage. And we have wood fuel for heating, and we harvest rainwater. So all our water, it comes from rain. In some of it's that we use for irrigation. We don't use too much irrigation, but just things that are in pots. And then what we drink comes from tanks that are collected from the roofs and is stored in tanks under the ground. So and we have composting toilets. We've not, we're still connected into the corporate world in ways that I'd quite like not to be, with things like mobile phones and and computers and some of the food we buy still, but we try our best. We buy secondhand or kind of hand-me-down clothes, just not consuming as much in the first place, not having as much stuff, not having new stuff all the time. But that's not necessarily off grid. I'm going on a tangent, but off grid is.
I love that. No, because you reminded me when I took there was a Pachamama.org class, and I didn't realize the amount of stuff that people are buying and how it's just in the landfill. And after I took that class, I don't buy these quick trinkets anymore. That I might just go, oh, well, let me get these trinkets. And now I have this big awareness about that. And I love what you're saying about the composting, and then the also the toilet compost. All of it is amazing. So and what about this? Okay, so if I had let's just say a banana that was not organic, would I want to put that into the soil if the banana peel was not organic or not?
That's a good question. Yeah, because not everything is. And we've had that. I can't remember. I was listening to something recently, and they were talking about compost toilets. I can't remember why I was listening to it, but and they were bringing up the same concerns that I sometimes have, because I know with me and Rosa, it's fine. We know what we eat. We know we're not taking any drugs, any pharmaceuticals. But you could have people come who I think it might have been Merlin Sheldrake, maybe, or Rupert Sheldrake was talking about it anyway. You might have people come and they're on antibiotics or they're on hormone, treatment. So but then I think someone was saying, maybe he was saying that these things break down quite quickly. But yeah, I mean, in terms of organic food and in organic plants with organic certification, some things you can't buy organic. You can't buy certain plants or crops or even seeds organic, because they're not being produced. There's a huge gap in the market for all those things. So sometimes you have to buy a plant or or some seeds that are not organic. But then once they're in the system for so long, I can't remember how long it is. It's different for different plants. Then you're growing them organically. You're treating them organically. Then it's almost like healing, I suppose. And then they become, once you want to sell them later on as, it's an apple tree that's not organic and you sell an apple, for example, it is once you're treating it organically. So yeah, the banana, I suppose, it's whatever the non-organic thing is that's going into the compost, eventually does become organic, but it might take a little while to break down.
Okay, well, that's good to know because I'm always in a quandary about certain things. Yeah, I'm doing my best, but I mean, I think that's all we can do. And you're doing wonderfully. I mean, what a great example. You're living off grid now that I know more exactly what you're, how you're living, the definition of that. And I would love to, I mean, I've managed to myself get rid of a lot of things and I feel much better now. And it's connection to earth and being out there and touching the earth. And that is so important. And I don't know how it's affecting our children and not just our children, but people in general that are not out there in earth and in this computer age where they might not ever go outside, but to jump in the car and go to the store, or go to eat at a restaurant, but not interact with Mother Earth. I mean, what do you think? It's like, what are the consequences of that for humanity? I mean, we're seeing them now, but
yeah, I think we're already seeing it, aren't we? We're already seeing it in the I think, if you want to make sure that you've always got a job and you've always got money, then become a therapist. We're seeing it, aren't we? That's where it's heading. So it's the trauma kind of stuff, the lack of connection. But I think also we can get very depressed about that because about I don't know, social media, and it's all bad, but actually there's some really good stuff coming out of that as well. And there's also a lot of people who want to live differently and are wanting to live closer to the land, and systems I don't know again what it's like in the States so much, but here it's very difficult to be able to buy land. And in certain parts of Britain it's a bit easier, but never easy to be able to buy land or just have land, use land that you can then grow and sustain yourself, your family, the community. Maybe that was all taken away. It's been taken away. Capitalism and pre-capitalism, the kind of feudal system, the enclosures that took that away from the commons, got rid of the commons and gave that parcels of land to private individuals. So, but I think we're really seeing, I don't know, I think I've been saying this all my life maybe, but I just feel like there is a turning. There's a great turning. Things are shifting. I've got a huge amount of hope in the young people. People are just rising up and saying we can't live like this. This is not, we don't want to wait until the worst things can happen. So, I mean, over here we're seeing a huge surge in the Green Party, for example. I don't think everything is down to party, parliamentary politics, but it just shows really there's a huge surge, and certainly for young people, it's under 50s are voting Green basically. And you've just got a new in New York, your new mayor is very exciting. I mean, he's great. I was a bit disappointed. I saw something on social media today, I think, about him eating some chicken. And I was like, oh, you could be vegan as well. You could be perfect, but pre-vegan. He's pre-vegan, isn't he? So he'll get there. But that's pretty exciting. So there's loads of hope, and there's loads of, that's just in the rich countries. There's loads of amazing stuff going on in the global south. Stuff movements in India and other parts of the world where people are really just saying, this system, this capitalist system doesn't work for most people, so we're not going to put up with it anymore. So yeah, remember what your question was now. I just went on another tangent there, didn't I? But
That's all good. I love it. Yeah. So I think
any excuse to rant about capitalism is like, yeah.
Well, tell us about how we can help you. I mean, being a volunteer, or how can we help your organization?
Yeah, being a volunteer. I mean, we're part of the WOOF. I don't know if you've heard WOOF, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms, which is a global an international movement, really. But it's a platform where anyone, you can sign up, and any age, any background, experience in farming or not, and come and stay on an organic farm and learn and help and be part of the family, really, and just get your food and bed and board. So people can come and do that with us. We've got Zena with us at the moment from Germany, who's staying until the end of December, and yeah, she's great. We've just had so many great people helping and bringing their ideas, and it's really as a team effort, so the whole farm is a team effort. So many different people are involved in helping, and that's what we want. So people can get involved in that way. You can come over and stay. That'd be great. They can look at our social. I'm just on Instagram and Facebook, so it's just at Tree of Life Veganics. If anyone's got, if anyone's, what was the term yesterday I heard? Another way of saying rich, but I can't remember what it was. A little bit of like a euphemism for rich. But if anyone's rich, we're happy to accept donations. There's all the stuff that I've done here is pretty much, most of it has been grant funded or funded through like government programs and things. So building barns and planting and trees, and we're looking for funding for making an accessible compost toilet, for example. So one that people, with mobility problems and people using wheelchairs could use, and a pizza oven, and all sorts of different ways that we want to kind of reach out and get the community more involved. And also education stuff. We do a lot of things with schools and other local groups, or education workshops and tours and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's loads of different ways. But also join the Vegan Organic Network. I would say to people, anyone interested, or even if you're growing, there's a map that the Vegan Organic Network has set up to try and connect everyone in the world growing veganically. Even if you're growing a pot plant on your balcony and you're not using any animal products or chemicals, you can add yourself to that map. So check that out on the Vegan Organic Network site.
Nice. And then we got Louisa is saying, when I'm rich, I'll give.
That's brilliant. We'll look forward to that. Come over and see us in the meantime.
Right. Yes. And what about Rosa?
Rosa's, where is she now? She's out with my mum at the moment. So, and then she's going to be going to her drama tonight. So, yeah, she's 14. So, yeah, she's finding out who she is. Yeah, she loves it. She loves being on the farm. She's very connected with the rest of nature. She's kind of grown up knowing how to forage and what you can eat, what you can't eat. So, and she just loves the animals around. She's not so fussed about the spiders who come into the caravan. We don't have any dangerous spiders here, but she's obviously we don't hurt them, but she's a bit fed up with them coming in all the time. But otherwise, she's great.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I wish I had a wonderful life. So, I learned a lot, but anyway, it would have been nice to experience that as well as a child. So, and then Louise is saying she would love to, I think, go over there and visit you. So I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, we have had a couple of people from the States come and stay. I think they were kind of seeing family as well. So it was worth the plane, journey to come over. But
and so what do you think? What's been your most memorable experience doing all the work that you've done? Is there anything that really stands out? Probably many.
Many really. What with the farm? I think there's not just one, but I think the the most amazing experiences, I think, are when other people come and you can just see something changes in them, you know. And we've had adults and children, but I can just think of some of the children who came who from a local school who were maybe struggling a bit with school and didn't really connect with school and didn't, I mean, like that's quite natural, to be honest with you, but you know, they just didn't feel happy at school, and they came, this particular group, and they were just, one girl, that one of the teachers said to me, I've not seen her smile at school ever, and she's been smiling since we walked to the farm basically, and we did some foraging, and then we did some things here, and she said she's just been smiling the whole time. And that, just even saying it now, makes me well up. At the time I was really struggling to hold it together, but it was just so lovely, and the children just really are happy to connect. I usually do a spiritual thing at the beginning, and if people feel comfortable, you know, take shoes off and we lie down and we just close our eyes and we just really connect with the land, and they just really embrace it. So those moments, I just think, oh, this is really all this hard work and stress that sometimes it is, you know, a lot of the time it is, it's got to be worth it, really. And also, I mean, connections with other animals as well. So particularly when I see my kestrel friend, we've got a kestrel friend. It's a long story we haven't got time for now, but a connection in spirit from other animals who we were very close to and loved, and or still love. And now when I see that kestrel, I just feel like, yeah, thank you. You're with me. I know I'm doing the right thing.
That's beautiful. Yes. And you're so connected to nature. I think that connection to nature opens up your ability to see, and I don't, that's not even the right word, but to recognize greater aspects of what is out there in the world, perhaps, right? Being connected with more than just meets the eye. It's when you're so connected to the earth, and that's who we are. And then someone who is really disconnected from the earth, I think that they've cut off those, I don't want to say, I mean, maybe I'll just say it, supernatural abilities. And I don't know how else to define it. Something outside of just the superficial.
Yeah, exactly. Just, yeah, we're all stardust, and if you just have to be open to it, don't you? And it takes time, maybe. You know, sometimes it just comes, but some of it's through practice. But I think sometimes you don't even, there's something outside of your control that just says, you know, we're here, part, and we're all connected, and you know, you don't need to worry, and you can call that whatever you want. You know, God, the universe, the energy, you know, Mother Earth, whatever. It's Gaia. It's all the same to me. It's one being and love.
You're right. It makes me want to cry. I mean, I feel very emotional right now.
Let's both cry. Yeah, I do like to cry quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm all for crying. So
you've got to get your emotions out there, haven't you? Really, whatever they are.
Right. And this is beautiful right here. I used to work on a strawberry farm in Massachusetts. So that's what I was saying.
Cool. So, we've planted quite a few strawberries, but yeah, we seem to have pigeons quite like to eat them, but we get some. We get a lot of raspberries.
Nice. Well, now that you have really touched my heart, my eyes are watering from this beautiful conversation. So tell us again where we can find you, Jo, and your final thoughts here as we come to the end of our hour.
So you can find us, you can follow us on Instagram at Tree of Life Veganics, or on Facebook, and you can contact me obviously that way as well through Instagram, and you can find us on the WOOF, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms UK, we're on there, and through the Vegan Organic Network, so all those different ways.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And after all my live streams today, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be touching some trees and giving thanks for their, for their majesticness. And I always think the trees are standing with me, and I thank them for that. And I know they're standing with you, and because we're all connected, even though we're not close physically, we're all connected emotionally, and I feel it. So thank you so much for just really touching my heart today, Jo, and everyone for watching. I appreciate it. We're all doing it together.
Oh, thank you.
been beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and don't forget that anyone struggling, yeah, we're all together. Thanks, Mary
Yeah.
Peter. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thank you. And y'all, thank you, Louise, and everyone watching on the replay. And we will see you next week. So, and make sure to go on to www.creatures.org and make a one-time or reoccurring donation if possible to support this program. And go make sure you check out Joe's links and keep up. And everyone do the good work you're doing. I'm so appreciative. So, all right. Thank you, Joe, again. And I guess we'll say goodbye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.